What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Loki, Season 1, apparently, Episode 6, for all time, always. So, first of all, address obviously, I'm in a new location. I'm house sitting for a friend for a couple weeks, and they have a cat. So, if you own a cat, you'll know that, yes, you're going to be hearing cat sounds and weird sound effects going on, and that's just, I can't help it. It's the cat. In fact, I've already had to restart this review once, and it's just making me realize, you know what, I'm just going to have to suck it up and start cutting some stuff if I can. I don't have any editing software, so I'm just literally going to have to cut it on the tablet. Do my best. So we'll see how this comes out. But anyway, so the season finale of season 1 of Loki, and first of all, talk about the fact that, yeah, there's going to be a season 2 apparently. I don't know what to expect with that. I do think of the 3 shows that we've seen so far, it's definitely the easiest to make a season 2 for, because the first one, WandaVision, kind of playing off television because she was creating this reality with the shows and stuff, so kind of makes sense. Also because we may not even have Vision anymore. I don't know. Still don't really know what's going on with White Vision because he disappeared and we never saw him again. And then Falcon the Winter Soldier, he's not Falcon, he's Captain America now. He's not the Winter Soldier, he's just Bucky. Doesn't have a new superhero name yet, so we'll see what that is. So it's going to be hard for those 2 shows. If they do come back as a TV show, they're not going to be called the same thing anymore. Whereas Loki, as long as Loki's your main character, you can make a second season of Loki. So it's much easier. However, I don't know what the premise is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be related to anything that happened in this first season or if it's going to be just based on whatever's going on in the MCU at that time. But yeah, so as far as this season finale is concerned, it's kind of funny because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of the different moments, the twists and turns and all that. But as I started talking about in the first run of this review, as I started talking about my issue with this episode, it kind of hit me just how frustrated I am with some of the decisions made. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that they decided to go with 6 episodes, all just about 40 minutes each, which is pretty standard for a typical TV show that you watch, but it's only 6 episodes. And that's the thing. Any time I see a show that has lesser episodes than normal, you look at the Netflix series. They're 13 episodes each, but each episode is over 45 minutes long at least. They're about 50 to 55 minutes. Sherlock, only 3 episodes per season, but guess what? Each episode is about an hour and a half, which is like almost movie length. In fact, it is feature film length. So, yeah, they're not as many episodes, but they're longer. There's more to them. There's more involved. With this, and even with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they're shorter. But the problem is with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I feel like they had a much more concise story to tell. Whereas with Loki, there's a lot going on. And there's a lot they're setting up. And yes, some of these questions may be answered, but some of them may not be answered until like next year. So we're going to be sitting here for a long time wondering and having all these questions. And a lot of them are just based on character decisions. Like, I don't know what a lot of these characters want. I don't know what their motivation is. I can figure out a couple of them, but for the most part, they didn't really do a good job of showing me what I should be feeling and how I should be reacting and what these characters are doing. In those final moments, Renslayer, where is she going? What is she doing? She found out this whole TVA thing was completely nothing she believed in, nothing to do with what she thought she was doing, but it seemed like she was still loyal. It seems like, oh, well, there's still a purpose. There's still a reason why they had us, whoever's in charge had us do all of this. Miss Minutes is giving her something in her TemPad. She's downloading some information that's like supposed to be important. It's what he thinks you need. And then Mobius shows up and they have a little fight, which didn't last very long. She kind of kicked him on his ass almost instantly. And then she opens a door and she's like, I'm going to go search for some free will. And then she's out the door. And I'm like, Mobius is sitting there smiling like, is this a good thing? What just happened? I don't know. It seems like she's still kind of evil, but then maybe she's not? What? And then Sylvie and Loki, like, they built up this relationship between the two of them. Episode, what was it, 3? Yeah, episode 3, which in my opinion was the weakest one, it was solely devoted to showing us them bonding. Them having that whole episode where they're on this planet that's about to be destroyed. They're learning about each other. They're seeing stuff in each other that they see in themselves and stuff that they like about themselves. kind of narcissistic, but, it worked for what it is because of who these characters are. They bonded. And then in this episode, all of a sudden, on a dime, oh, you just want the throne to yourself. Oh, that's what's going on. Yeah, I thought so. I can't believe I was stupid enough to trust you. On a dime. Like, not even like there was some manipulation going on, not even like he said something that put her off. No, it's just in a moment, she's ready to kill him. He's saying, wait, there's more to this. Yes, I'm a liar, but I can tell that he's not lying right now. But just instantly, no, you're lying. You want this all to yourself. I see right through you. No, you don't. Like, I don't know. It's just such a quick thing, and I realize a lot of it comes down to they need this multiverse to happen. But still, for Sylvie to all of a sudden turn on him, it seems very much like a sudden change of character. And that's kind of a problem, because you've been writing this character this way, and you've not really shown us any hint that she doesn't trust him over the past couple episodes, and then all of a sudden she doesn't trust him. So it's like this whole character arc that we were seeing throughout the episode suddenly just didn't go anywhere. Like, it just made a quick 180 and went right back to where it came from. She can't trust anyone. Well, then why did you show us all those times of her trying to trust somebody, her trying to trust Loki? It seems weird. And then on top of that, we knew the multiverse was coming. I mean, I've seen toys spoil stuff before. I've seen actors. I've seen trailers spoil stuff from a movie before. I've never once seen a movie title spoil something that hasn't happened yet. But Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness clearly spoiled for us that this show was going to end with the multiverse being created. It was not going to be just a singular timeline anymore. We were going to get different branches. So we know that's going to happen. So surely they're not going to end the show on just the multiverse being created. Oh, they are. That's the final big payoff, is the multiverse has now been created. We already knew that was happening. And that's your big payoff. That's what we end on, huh? It's like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't know. It's like in Star Wars, right? Like, you knew at some point that Luke was going to face off against Vader, right? So imagine that fight in The Empire Strikes Back. That epic fight where, the whole I am your father scene, that happens in the last movie. Like, they don't fight, and then in episode 6, which really is the third movie, but whatever, that's when they fight. And then I am your father, and that gets revealed, and then the movie ends. Like, that's kind of what it feels like. You were building up to the multiverse, and like that feels like we knew it was coming, so that's something that should happen maybe partway through the series, maybe partway through the final episode, but that shouldn't be your big payoff when we know that's what's going to happen already. It's not enough of a payoff because we're already expecting it. So really the big payoff could have been, who is this guy? Who is he who remains? They hinted at it. He did say at one point that people have called him a conqueror, so this could be Kang the Conqueror, but he never actually said his name. We just found out that he's the one been controlling everything because these different variants of himself, were apparently at war, and that was the actual multiverse war, which I find kind of interesting. They made it play out like all these different universes, they clashed with each other. But in reality, it sounds like it's just his different variants that clashed with each other, and then he's the one that won it, and so he wanted to keep it to where he was the only variant of himself, or he was the only version of himself. So I will admit that is kind of, I want to know more about that. I want to know more about this guy. Is he going to be the new big bad guy, or is he just a bit part character? And if he's just a bit part character, then I really want to know more about him, because that means we're probably not going to find out more about him for a while. But, I mean, he seemed interesting enough. But at the end, I'm like, are we going to find out more about him? No, we're just going to find out what his plan was, we don't even really know why he did half the stuff he did. Why did he specifically choose variants and not tell them they were variants? Why did he lie about there being timekeepers that saved all of time? I don't know. It seems odd. that we didn't get more answers for why he did some of what he did. Like, not finding out who he is, sure, that's something that could be kept hidden for a while if he's going to be, kind of the new big bad guy or whatever. Yeah, I don't mind not finding out if he's Kang the Conqueror or not yet, because obviously he's going to come back. But a lot of what's going on with the TVA, with the people working there, with the idea of the sacred timeline, like, I don't know, it seems like, yeah, I know why you're doing the sacred timeline now, but how come you had to lie about there being timekeepers? How come you had to lie to these people about the fact that they're actually variants? Like, did you just not want people to know that all of this was just so you could be the only version of yourself? Did you not think people would fight for you because this whole idea of, oh, it's just all about me? Like, you didn't think people would fight for that? Sorry about that. I hopefully have cut that out because the cat decided, hey, I'm going to walk in front. But, yeah, cats. This is why I'm a dog person. Although dogs would probably bark during the review. But you know what? I could at least just kind of let them bark and then be done. But cat wants to, like, walk in front of the camera. That's a problem. It's a problem. So anyways, but yeah, so I feel like a lot of what was going on with this guy could have been the payoff. Finding out about the TVA and the truth of why he did a lot of what he did with the TVA could have been the payoff. But instead the big payoff was, oh, we're in the multiverse now. And then a couple little other scenes with Loki and finding out about what the TVA is now. But even then, they're so quick and also raise more questions. Why is there now a statue of this guy? A different version of him, obviously, but why is there a statue of him there now? Is that because another one has already taken over the TVA? How did he do it so quickly? And Mobius doesn't know who Loki is. Is that because this is a different variant of Mobius now? Or is Loki just such small potatoes? Like this, honestly, my theory on this, and I'm not really much of a theory person anymore, especially when it comes to Marvel, because everybody's theories have been wrong for so long about all these Marvel's things. Like, they just completely... I swear it's like they go online and they see... They actually film all these different endings and these different versions and stuff. It's like Clue. It's like, guess who the killer is and stuff. And they see all of the theories that people put, and they're just like, you know what? Let's go for one that's not being guessed a lot. Oh, you all think this was Mephisto? No, this wasn't Mephisto. And they like get rid of all of the scenes that they filmed where the Mephisto reveal happened because they just want to make sure they subvert everybody's expectations. Anyways, it's kind of a weird conspiracy theory. But one of the things that I was thinking about is Loki so not known now? Because in a world, in a timeline where everything was neat and tidy and there was one timeline, Loki was kind of a big deal in the TVA because, hey, he's different. He's out there. There's a lot of variants of him. There's a lot of variations. A lot of the timelines that get pruned end up being because of Loki, because of something he's doing that's different than the sacred timeline. But now in a world where all these different timelines are branching and there's so much chaos and so much confusion, Loki now just sort of fits in, and he's not really that big of a deal, so Mobius wouldn't know who he was in this case. But then again, that means this is a completely different Mobius than we've seen all season, and I will admit, one of the things I liked about the show was the back and forth between Loki and Mobius, and we're not going to have that anymore because they took it away, which is another blight against this show. God, do I actually not like this ending? Oh my God, like the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm just kind of like, wow, they've made a lot of issues that I'm not a fan of. Because yeah, one of the things that they did really well with the show was Mobius interacting with Loki, interacting with Sylvie, and now it seems like that's not going to happen anymore. It still could. Like, they could still work together maybe, but it's not going to be the same. Like, seeing Mobius sort of fangirl over Loki and stuff and know so much about him and be able to read and kind of figure out when he's trying to play him and stuff, that was sort of interesting. He was kind of a Loki expert. And now they've taken that away because Mobius doesn't know who Loki is. For whatever reason, whether this is a different variant or whether it's what I said, this is just a new timeline where Loki doesn't matter, so he hasn't really studied on Loki anymore. But the other thing that seems weird about that, though, is because the TVA exists outside of time, then how come the time at the TVA is now changed? It seems very odd, and it seems like there's a lot of, I don't know, there's going to be a lot of plot holes that come out of this. Like, why? Because it's not like Sylvie killed He Who Remains. It's not like she killed him before she sent Loki into the TVA, which means the TVA that he got sent into would still be the one that they left, where the timekeepers still exist and all of this stuff. So why has the TVA changed if she sent him in there before she killed the guy? It seems like there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of like, oh, we want to be shocking. And, oh, no, Mobius doesn't know who Loki anymore is, guys. But I feel like that makes it worse for me. Yeah. Now that I've complained about this show a lot, talk about some of the stuff that I liked. God, now I'm thinking about it. Wow. There's not much. I mean, I like some of the early shots. I like some of the early scenes I did enjoy. I enjoyed Loki and Sylvie showing up at the castle. Cats. Just why I thought the movie was the worst thing about cats. Never tried to do a review with a cat around. Anyways, so yeah. I'm thinking about it now, and the early scenes I enjoyed when they're first showing up to the castle, the camaraderie there. The castle design was pretty cool, like it was very dark, but also like the weird spiny gold things. Miss Minute showing up very creepily, and the way, their whole conversation was interesting. Mobius, when he first showed up in Renslayer's office, was kind of interesting. Finding out, who Renslayer's variant was, like this random teacher in Ohio in 2018. So all of that was interesting. And then it's like from the moment that Renslayer left using her TemPad, and the moment that Sylvie and Loki started fighting, from there on, I just kind of lost some of the interest. I lost some of my excitement for the ending because it just kind of felt like, okay, so what's this building to? The multiverse. Again, we already knew that. And it just, I don't know. He Who Remains, now obviously, because they're playing with this idea of whoever is going to be the big bad will be a version of this guy, whether it's Kang or whether it's some other name, I don't know. But I'm hoping that means that we're not going to get this guy particularly. Obviously it'll be the same actor. But I'll be honest, when he first started talking to them, my first thought was, oh, this character again. The Agatha Harkness. The Valentina, whatever her last name is. I don't know why, but all of the characters, all of the villains that they've started introducing have been kind of these little goofy, like kind of quirky, inappropriate, all of this, it's the same. It's the same type of character. It's the same, oh, I'm going to joke in a situation that's very intense. Oh, I'm goofy. Oh, you thought you could hit me, but you couldn't. Oh, no. Like, very similar. And I hope that the version of him that's now going to sort of step in and take charge, I hope it's going to be different. Because not that he was, like, awful or anything. But, yeah, it was kind of, as soon as he started acting all goofy and he was all like, oh, isn't this something? 2 Lokis. It's just crazy. You guys have had quite the ride. It was just kind of like, okay, so here we are again, another goofy villain. So I'm hoping that the variant or version of him that comes in is a little less goofy, a little bit more intimidating, because, I don't know, Loki was talking about how kind of scary and intimidating he was at the end. I didn't get that, honestly. I mean, what he was talking about was sort of intense. This whole idea of all these different variants of him and how powerful he could be. Like, that was kind of intense, but he himself, the character, was not. I was not really intimidated by him. So I'm hoping the next character that he plays will be a bit more intimidating. But yeah, it just, from that moment on, it feels like they, I don't know. It's like they didn't want to end too much because they're like, well, we want to leave it open-ended so we can make some changes if we need to, or we can let some other writers, or we can let this project do this. And I feel like that's kind of an issue. Like, you can't leave so many questions for so long because I know what they're doing. They're basically baiting us like fish. But at some point, the fish is going to be sick of being on the hook and is just going to die. And that's kind of where my interest is. It's like you've been baiting us for a while. With WandaVision, you baited us a bit. With Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you baited us a bit. Even with Black Widow, there's some bait in that, where it's just kind of like, oh, what's going to happen next? And it feels like we're just sort of biding our time waiting for some of these movies like Spider-Man and like Doctor Strange to come out, when I thought that these shows were supposed to be similar to a movie. It's supposed to be telling stories. It's supposed to kind of bring things along, and instead it's just been kind of like, oh, what's happening next, guys? Oh, what's happening next? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Oh, this is the guy, but not really. It's going to be a version of him. Oh, what's going to happen next? At some point, you just got to finally get to that point. You got to get to the point where we're there. But because it's been so long and we've been waiting for so long with all of these different teases of like, this could be the multiverse, guys. This could be the multiverse. And now we're waiting, we're finally here, but even then it's still not really here. We're at the moment where it all happens, and now we gotta wait again for the next step. And I don't know. It's really funny because like at the end of it I was just kinda like, okay, that was cool. I enjoyed it. And now I'm looking back like, did I enjoy it? In hindsight, I feel like the more it sits with me, the more I'm kind of frustrated with this final episode. I'm frustrated with the decisions made. I'm frustrated with kind of how it all played out, how it ended. It just sort of feels like more bait. It feels like more teasing us along until we get to the next stop. And especially with a show like this that could play with the aspects of time and what's going on in the multiverse and all these different things, and who the big bad, if this guy is going to be the big bad, the next one, you actually introduce him here, but we still don't really know much about him. We still don't really know much about his plans. I don't know. It just feels like a wasted opportunity, in my opinion. I really felt like a lot of what was building up was interesting, but unfortunately it's one of those things that I feel like the landing for the final episode didn't stick. And so because of that, it kind of taints my whole view of the rest of the show. Because I feel like now a lot of this build-up, heck, a lot of the character arcs, like I was talking about, that they developed throughout the season, didn't pay off to anything. Some of them went and backtracked. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to come next. Obviously, the next thing is going to be What If, which I don't know how much that's going to play into much of what's going on right now. It is going to be an animated series, so clearly I don't think they're setting up some of these stories for the MCU. I feel like more than likely this is just going to be some fun side stories that are going on in different universes and different branches of the timeline, where things are now different. Which it'll be fun, but I don't feel like it's going to play much into what's going on in the MCU specifically. Which, again, is a little disappointing because here we are. And I mean, I think the next thing after What If is Hawkeye. It's either Hawkeye or Spider-Man. But, yeah, I mean, this cat. I need to end this review before this cat screws me over again. But, yeah, I mean, after What If, though, Hawkeye is going to be clearly within the MCU, like within that first timeline that we've been following this whole time, that's now going to maybe not matter at all. So how is that going to play into everything? Probably going to be a lot smaller scale than what we're experiencing in Loki, and what's probably going to be experienced in Spider-Man, what's probably going to be experienced in Doctor Strange. So yeah, I don't know. I'm worried they're writing themselves into a serious hole, and not entirely sure if they're going to get out of it. But my only hope is that we see all of this happening, obviously all of these different timelines, all of these different, the different multiverses and stuff are happening, but I'm hoping what they're going to do with it, which I think will be clever, is that this idea of the multiversal war is not actually going to be something that's happening, because obviously we're not going to be, I don't think we're going to be jumping universes and multiverses and stuff like that in every single thing. So we're still going to be focused on kind of our timeline, but obviously the multiverse will play in from time to time. Like it'll be involved, and I'm thinking that it's going to be more about this guy, whoever he is, it's going to be more about him and his different versions trying to seize control of the timeline. And obviously, whoever's in charge of the TVA now wants there to be branches. So whether it's Sylvie, who's, I guess, she may be doing something similar where it's like, here's the statue of this guy, like he's the one who's in charge, but actually she's the one in charge, kind of similar to what he did with the Timekeepers. Or whether this new version of him is like, no, I want there to be a multiversal war, so I'm just going to let the branches play out and I'm going to rule over all of them, or something along those lines. I don't know. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird that I went into this with such like, yeah, I'm going to talk about the show. It was fun. And now I'm just thinking about like, oh, I don't know if it was fun. Yeah. So who knows? We'll see what everybody else thinks. But with that being said, that's about it for my reviews. Obviously, I'll talk about what if when it comes out. What if it doesn't come out? I'm tired. I need to go to sleep. Anyways, that's it for me and all of my opinions. So let me know what your opinions are. Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all of that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Marvel adventures, multiverse stuff. God, it's going to get confusing. It's going to get real confusing real fast. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.